Copyright disclaimer. Ever wonder why the word or kalusugan in Filipino had been used or bombarded to us by the pharmakia or in mainstream media to push their agendas?
Current Alberta healthcare system is one that has forgotten who should be at the center of its existence: patients and the healthcare experts who look after them.
Right now, we are seeing all areas of healthcare being pushed to their limits.
The health is a big part of our national development.
Upon checking its etymology, what caught my eye was the Old Norse word Helge. And according to the Wiki1 website, Helge was derived from the Proto-Norse word Heilaga, that means being dedicated to the gods. And upon checking Norse mythology, this is what came up. According to History Cooperative, Hell is the deity of death and the underworld. It means hidden or concealed, and in Germanic etymology, it means to harm or to kill. And the name coincides with the Egyptian deity Osiris. You can't make this stuff up. No coincidences. From hell to hell?
Hell in Norse mythology, and this would be Hel. Hell is both the name of a person and a place, very similar to the Greek Hades. In the case of Norse mythology, though, Hel is a woman, and the place that she rules is called Helheim.
One half of her is dead and looks very, very bad, and the other half of her is beautiful. And when you go to Hell, you're met by her, and she's quite terrifying.
Hel was a medieval Two-Face, the Norse ruler of the underworld. She was said to be born in the frozen landscape of Scandinavia to a giantess and the trickster Loki, sidekick to god of thunder, Thor.
In Old Norse mythology, there were these horrendous, awful children, the Fenris wolf and the giantess Hel. And to get rid of her, the gods put her in charge of the realm of the dead.
Like Hades, her Greek counterpart, Hel watches over all those who have died, good or bad. She is often depicted holding a plate named Hunger and a knife named Famine. And it's that imagery that holds the clue to the reality behind this true monster. In medieval Scandinavia, hunger and famine were rampant for one very specific reason. The extremely cold, harsh weather created a land untenable for crops.
Cold as hell, we get it from Norse mythology. Hell is a cold place.
If you're living on the edge of the North Sea in the pre-industrial age, cold is way worse than warm. I don't care how hot it gets in the summer, it's not as bad as how cold it gets in the winter.
Well, first of all, let's look at the word hell. Hell in both Old Norse and Old English is from the same root. These words are exact cognates, and they come from an Indo-European root, kel. That root, kel, becomes something spelled C-E-L in Latin, in the italic branch of the Indo-European languages, and kel meaning to hide or to cover, through Latin borrowings has given us words in English like conceal, which is from this root, together with the prefix con, with, or cellar, the place where you cover your food. But in the Germanic languages like Old English and Old Norse, this K becomes an H by the regular law of sound change called Grimm's law. So we have several words in English besides hell that are derived from the same root for to cover or hide. For instance, helmet, the thing that covers your head, or a hole, something where something might be hidden underneath the earth, or a hollow, or something that is hollow, or a holster where you might put your 6-gun. Hell is then just originally a covered place, and so we might think of it as originally meaning simply the grave. If you are in hell, you are in your grave, you are covered by the earth. But it's not surprising that in Old Germanic belief, just as in all around the world, this leads into a conception of the dead as living in a sort of kingdom parallel with the political states of the living. From that, we get this conception of hell as being sort of an underground realm presided over by a deity or deity-like figure who, in Old Norse at least, is also called Hel. We have no records from Old English or any other Old Germanic languages about this figure named Hel. There we're relying only on Norse sources, as usual, actually. This word Hel, or in Old English, Hel or Hella, sometimes it has an E written at the end, is used in Old English to translate Latin infernus, which is the Latin word for hell in early Christian literature. We also see the Gothic cognate halia used to translate Greek Hades in the Gothic Bible. So very early on, there was a feeling among translators that hell did translate the Christian conception of hell, infernus, Gehenna, Hades. But these realms are not really all that similar when you look at what little is talked about of hell in Norse mythology. In addition to the Queen of Hell, whose name is Hel, who Snorri tells us is half the color of flesh and half the color blur, which most translators translate as black, but which I translate as blue following many years of studying color terms in Old Norse. This description of her as being half flesh colored and half blue has led most artists to depict her as being split in half down the middle, down her nose, or one side of her looks dead because the color blur is associated with death and corpses, and one half looks alive. But it's not clear that's necessarily what Snorri means.
Moreover, it was said that one of the symbols that is associated with this deity is a sickle. And that reminds me of the scripture in Revelation 14. And the messenger thrust his sickle into the earth and gathered the vine of the earth and threw it into the great winepress of the wrath of the Almighty. It sheds more light as to why the enemy is using the word into pushing the people to take the mark of the beast. All praises to our Almighty Yahuwah through His Ben Yahushua. Shalom.